Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I have a problem. I've been asking for everybody to do their redos, and some of them have been coming back with no names on them. And some of the work that has been handed in this week has had no names. And then some people came in and said they had their work done, and then I told them, oh, okay, so go find it on my desk. It might be a no-namer, and then put it back on my desk or on my chair. And then I forgot which color group that person was in. So, in other words, if you're still on TTC today and you thought you had put your name on your paper and it didn't get done, you might want to pop up here to see if maybe your work is hanging on my board. So, that being said, we're in the December month of our 6th grade year. It is not new that we have to put our name on our paper. Your parents spend a lot of time picking out your name for you. So please use it every time you sit down and start a math assignment. You can go ahead while I get ready for the next step. You can go ahead and get a piece of paper out and start folding. You'll need that piece of paper in a minute. And then you'll need a pencil as well. So go ahead and get that stuff done. And I'll have the teachers hand out the papers as well.
I did good on the math end, didn't I?
Yeah.
There's some problems like
I don't know. You'll see when you get it. 14.
14. I'm not 16. I think I figured out the riddle.
Oh, well, keep it secret.
What
Oh, okay.
No, guys. Who's that?
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and unmute. If you haven't got your worksheet yet, it's because somebody's distracted in front of you. Go ahead and come in. Good morning. I will go ahead and get started here. Thank you. Jada, have a Merry Christmas. Okay, so let's see, where was I? Oh, I was talking about putting your names on your paper and it being December and we should remember our names. And then I wanted to say a whole bunch of stuff. Okay, so I'm going to say a whole bunch of stuff. Remember yesterday Mrs. Mueller had a whole bunch of stuff to say? Okay, so I'm going to say a bunch of stuff today too. Number 1, redo work is due by lunch today. Okay, if you have some, please do your very best. Some of us have gotten our redo work back several times. Okay, do you remember how many times Mr. Boland took that test over again? He took it over several times, didn't he? So getting your redo work back several times isn't a punishment. It's for you to get busy, right? So you remember that Mr. Boland took that test over and over again. So this redo work is so important to me that I want you to get it done until you reach the goal of understanding how to add and subtract fractions and mixed numbers. Okay. The notes we took at the beginning of our adding and subtracting the fraction stuff, I keep hearing someone humming and it's distracting me. Make it stop. Oofda. Boy, those small noises sometimes can really distract me. Okay, the notes we took and kept in our folders should help us. The steps for every kind of fraction problem are in those notes. If some of the steps are not clear to you, you need to let me know, okay? So if there's an issue with not understanding something with simplifying, let me know. If you still don't quite get how to find equivalent fractions when we need common denominators, let me know, okay? And when we hand and redo work, it helps me if you take your time. Do an error analysis. If you need to erase the old work and neatly identify your new result. because sometimes I have to look and look and look to see if maybe you have a new answer somewhere. And believe it or not, some people have been handing back redo work that isn't redone completely. Okay, so that is not okay with me because that causes me to need to look at a paper again and then realize that the student has to redo even more. And then that frustrates me because they didn't attempt the redo. All right, you might be wondering what an error analysis is. Maybe nobody's told you, okay? So that's okay because I know I haven't talked about it this year. When you're specifically thinking about mathematical error analyses, you want to think through some of the steps that you have to take to get through to the correct answer, right? This one is more tailored for fractions. So let's look at it. Number one, check to see that you copied your problem correctly. I would say over 50% of the problems that we have when we make mistakes in math is not copying something correctly, okay? Then, when you're done doing that, making sure it's right, then you look back at your notes to check to see if you followed those steps correctly. Okay, so is it okay to have your notes out when you're working on your fractions? Yes. All right, so then once you've done that, take a peek at all your calculations. Check your adding, check your subtracting, and your multiplying and your dividing. And then maybe take a peek to see if the result is simplified. I think a bunch of us should skip to step 4 every single time because a lot of times you have the right answer, it's just not simplified. And then finally, check to see if your result has an improper fraction with the whole number. Okay, does that make sense? So it's an organized list of ways you can check your work for errors. Any questions? Okay, does anybody want any extra help with any of that? Okay, good. I have a few people shaking their heads. So yes, you're going to want to stay in at lunch today to get your redo work done. If you do not, then of course we're coming to Friday school with Mrs. Franzen. Okay, so back to the meat here. We are starting today on a, oh boy, that's a mess from yesterday, isn't it? Okay, so today's assignment says, where do trees grow when one tree has a birthday? Okay, so we're going to take a peek at these problems. If you look at the very left side, all the way to the left, it says subtracting mixed numbers with renaming. So yesterday we did subtracting mixed numbers and we did not have to borrow, or we did have to borrow, but we did not have to find common denominators as well. So they already had the same bottom number in each of the fractions. So today we have to find common denominators. Please don't use the mechanical pencil sharpener when I'm talking. Thank you. All right. Number one. Let's look at that one together. It says 8 to the 4th. There. All right. How's that look?
No, it's wrong.
What'd I do?
Oh, you did it wrong.
Did I copy it wrong?
Yeah.
Oh, shucks. Okay, well.
You told us not to do. We are supposed to.
I'm not sure why this smartboard's acting so silly here. Okay. So, well, I'm going to start over again. And is that okay? Yes, that is okay.
Yes, that is okay.
8 to the 4th.
Yes.
5.5.
Yes.
All right, and I'm subtracting. My first step, according to my notes, is always with adding and subtracting fraction problems, find out if you have common denominators. Are my two bottom numbers the same?
No.
Not in this case. So when I have that problem, I need to multiply by a factor that will make it so that both the denominators are the same. So what factor would I multiply 2 by to get the 4? 2. So I'm going to multiply by 2 over 2. Remember, those parentheses mean multiply. So 1 times 2 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. Very good. Now do I have common denominators? Yes. And if I have 1/4 and then 2/4 to take away from it, am I able to do that? No, because if I have $1 in the bank and ask the banker to take out $2 for me, he will say no. So I have to go here and say, hey, 8, you're going to have to be a 7 now. I'm going to take a whole away from you. One whole is going to be, ooh, I don't want a parentheses when I'm adding. So 1 whole will mean that I have to add 4/4, won't I? Because the fraction we have up here has a denominator of 4, and the fraction we have down here has a denominator of 4. Okay? So in order to do that, then I go ahead and do that. Okay? Am I ready to start subtracting now?
Yes.
No, look closely.
Oh no.
I am not ready until I get those added. I've seen a lot of people say, "Oh, I've done that step. I took from the whole number and I put the 1 here, so I'm ready to subtract." No, that's not what we do. We have to also remember the adding. Remember, I made that mistake yesterday as well. Okay. Now I have 5 minus 2, and I get
3/4.
and 7 minus 5, and I get
2 3/4.
okay.
But I think that's not on here.
My last steps are to check to see if I have an improper fraction or if I need to simplify. And I think I'm okay. Now, let's read the directions at the top underneath the title. It says cross out the box containing each correct answer. When you finish, write the letters that are remaining in the boxes on the spaces at the bottom of the page. So are we worried about the ones we're crossing off? No, we cross them off. And then when we're all done, we put the letters in the little boxes below at the very end. So I look at my thing here and I see how many times does 2 3/4 appear?
1.
Yeah, once, and there's an ES above it. So I'm going to shade in that box or cross off that box. But I want to leave those answers so I can still see them just in case I made a mistake and later have to do some error analysis. Right? All right. Okay. I'm just going to use my eraser. All right. Let's pop down to question 13. This guy's name is Les. I have a brother named Les. Les Anderson set a record when he caught a salmon weighing 97 1/4 pounds.
Whoa, that is big.
Robert Wilson caught a salmon that weighed 74 9/16 pounds. Okay. How much less was his? So we do see the how much less, so we're subtracting. And what's our first step in our notes? Look to see if we have common denominators. Well, I'm looking at a 4 and a 16 in the bottom numbers there, right? Denominator means bottom numbers. Well, 16 and 4 have factors in common, right? As a matter of fact, 16 is a multiple of 4. So I'm going to go ahead this time and I'm going to multiply by 4/4. Because I know the result of 4 by 4 is 16. Now, do I have common denominators?
Yeah.
Yes. But am I ready to start subtracting? If I have $4 in the bank, can I take $16 or $9 out? No. Okay, so what I need to do then is I need to add to this, but I need to take away from this. So now he's a 96. And how do I know what I'm going to add to the 4/16? You look at that common denominator, don't you? And you say, oh, 16 is my common denominator. I need a 1 whole that I took from the 97 in order to do this. So I'm going to take 16/16 and add it. What do I get when I add 16 plus 4? You get 20. 20/16 now. Okay, the result of this is 20/16. So in other words, if you have $20 in the bank, can you now take $9 out?
Yeah.
Yes. 20 minus 9 is? So I have 11/16 for my fraction part. 96 minus 74.
22.
Okay, and what unit of measure were they using?
Pounds? Oh,
Okay. So then I would always just go ahead and copy that answer onto my worksheet, onto the front page. And then I would look for it as well and cross it off in the little box below. Okay. If you haven't copied down all the steps and you need to for remembering how to do these, you probably should do that. I had a lot of people tell me yesterday that they really like these puzzle pages because then they can check their work. And I like them for that reason too. As long as students aren't telling each other the result and then just putting the answers in. All right, so keep the results to yourself when you do find them out. Number 14, a cabinet has shelves that are 11 and a half inches apart. Oh, I like this one. So if the cabinet has shelves that are 11 and a half inches apart, okay, and on one shelf, Mike's stack of VCR. That's funny. You can see how old these worksheets are. Mike's stack of VCR that is 5 1/4 inches high on top of that shelf, and an amplifier that is 3 3/8 inches high. How much space is left above the VCR? So we have a 2-step problem again that's almost exactly like that last problem we had yesterday, isn't it? We have to take those two heights of those two things that they stacked on the shelf. And we have to probably just add those together. Or we could take the total distance between the shelves, subtract the height of the VCR, and then get that result, and then subtract the height of the amplifier. However we want to do that. Okay? So that one's a thinker. But in this case, we do actually use all 3 numbers. So we don't have any extra information in that story problem. Okay? You have the remainder of today's class to work on these problems. All right? And if you have redos, you probably have already gotten them back from me. And if the teachers in the other classes want to hand back papers, then you'll know if you have redos. Plus, I've already given each of the teachers the list of the kids who still have redos to do. Okay, any questions out there? Yes. All right, you guys have happy mathing today.
Nice grammar, Mrs. Frandsen. You're really tasty. May I see